Okay, so it's 47 degrees, and I'm not joking, it's 47 degrees. We just had 2.5 inches of rain here at the house. Farther north, east, they had even more, closer to 3 inches of rain. At 40, we haven't gotten out of the 40s in the last 3 days. There's a lot of corn and soybeans in the ground here locally, and I don't think they're going to be doing too well with 47 degree weather. I feel bad for them. Not all of them, but you know, some of them I do. Most of the farmers around, I worry that they're going to be replanting. And when you replant here, unless the insurance company that you have, crop insurance, pays that replant fee, or that for replanting, which some of them do, you've lost money. You've lost. There's just no getting that back, because the profit margins on grain, if you're a non-farmer, you know very well that you're not going to get your money back. You've lost. Replanting costs are high, and equipment costs are high. Fuel is high, and everything's high. I got to answer the phone. Okay, so here we are. I've got my new part on there. Was unable to procure the new washer and the new bolt. So what I did was I cleaned it up really good, and they already have Loctite on them, but I cleaned it up really good, and I went ahead and I put the Loctite on it that needed to go on it. And now I'm going to go right on ahead and finish assembling this with the nut fucker, as somebody so kindly called it. I really don't want to use a nut fucker on this. I love that. I just read that like 5 seconds ago, and I was like, you know, that really does explain what an adjustable wrench is capable of doing. It is capable of fucking up nuts like you got no idea. And this is almost as good at fucking up nuts as your ex-wife is. So, anyhow, that being said, I'm just going to use my nut fucker here and get this nut on there as tight as I can get it. It is a nylock, a very heavy-duty nylock. I've never actually had nylocks quite as aggressive as what I have here on these bearings. I mean, some people would just reuse the old nylocks, but that's not a good thing to do, because what happens with nylocks is they heat up. Holy shit. I'm not really doing a bad job on that nut. I think nut fuckers are really bad at screwing up smaller nuts, but these big ones, it really does grab nicely. Normally, if that was a smaller nut, I'd rip it right off of there. So anyhow, I think some of the shit, what do I do with that? Oh, here it is. So yeah, anyhow, with that out of the way, that was kind of funny. But I do definitely have this thing locked on there nice and tight. This particular piece was over $400 for this chunk of steel. There's a fair bit of machining that goes into it. It is a hammer forged piece of metal. Alright, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to swap what I'm using that on there. This is a hammer forged piece of steel, and then they have to machine out the hole here and the splines, and then they have to machine out these two holes, and then they have to drill ports into this cast piece of steel. And when they're done drilling the ports, which wherever the hell they are here inside there, then they cap them. Where the hell that is? I know I saw it there someplace, but anyways, there's ports that go to the bearing itself, and you really kind of, that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and that's why it is as expensive as it is to purchase. And yeah, so in total, that particular piece, we're looking at, let's say, I think it was 430 bucks for this. I'm pretty sure it was. I have to look at the thing. 430 for that. $500, $600, $700 for this piece. About 700 and change for that piece. Approximately 700 bucks. So that cost is pretty intense, actually. And I was fortunate that I was able to reuse the grease diverter that's in there. Okay, now things are going to get ugly. You really want to put the torque to it, because I did have one of these on the other bar actually loosened up. Okay, let's call that pretty good. I'll put these tools away when I get done there. So now I've got that part done, right? And Carl brought me over, they're his, not mine. He's not giving them to me. But there's special grease ends on these bearings. And there's two ways to do this. There's two grease zerks actually in the bearings themselves. But you see that end there? It just looks like a piece of tapered pipe. That goes in there like so. And then you pump some grease into her. Ready? There it is. Came out. See that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm surprised. This one's actually pretty dry. Not only is it forcing grease through the bearing, but it's actually forcing it back through the ports in this casting here that's on the other side of it, which is probably a good thing. These here, let me take this and set it here for now. I got to put these tools away in a minute. But anyway, here, let me take you off of there. You can get explained in a proper way. You always want to preload these grease or these bearings, because air in the system will create a cushion in the system, like a shock absorber. Okay, so if the pressure being exerted through this block here, this is where the grease goes through it. If the pressure being exerted into there is not, or the volume being exerted through there is not enough to force grease out of here, it will go into the system and then relax. Go into the bearing and relax. So it's always good to preload, force the air back out of these bearings and out of this block here. There is air in there, because any cushion of air, if it cannot escape anywhere, it just becomes like a spring. That's the best I can explain it. And then you never get grease to your bearings and they wear out prematurely. So the best thing to do is to actually run grease into those bearings or through the block, and even force them out through the seals. I know there are some people in the world that say that's not a good thing to do, is to force grease through the seals. And I could agree to that. I really could. Because anytime you force grease through the seals, you compromise the seal and dirt and stuff can get into it. But because we're in a clean environment here, I can force that grease through there, get the air out of it, and then work the bearing, and the seals will reseat. And I think somebody's coming in now. I hear somebody. But anyway, what I'm going to do is actually put some grease through these ports here. And this is a free floater. It kind of floats back and forth so that you got room to move. There is a bolt, a longer bolt that goes through there, and it goes to that one right there. And there's a thin nut that goes between there with a lock washer. It's actually the one on the other side. And then you put a regular nut here loosely on here so this thing can float just ever so slightly back and forth to account for any wobble or stresses that are exerted to it. I was a fool last summer and I tightened these up against the bolt on the other side to try and hold this piece in place because there was a little bit of a wobble in all of them, and I broke each one of these castings and I had to re-weld them. So when I had to re-weld them, I learned really quickly what not to do, and that was my mistake. So, and these are quite expensive, so anyhow, that was just the long and the short of it. The bearings were brand new at the time, and whatever. But anyways, let me shut up and get on to putting this thing in. Okay, so I guess we've got a rainbow now. Maybe this will be the end of it. I don't know if you can see it. Yep, there it is. Hopefully this will be the end of the rain event for a couple days, but I don't think so. I said this on Instagram here the other day, yesterday or the day before, or 3 days ago. I'm sending the seed corn back. I am not going to plant that corn. There's no point in me rushing to plant it. The simple fact of the matter is that I had given myself approximately 10 to 15 days to get this corn in the ground, and I can't do it. The big tractor's leaving for North Carolina tomorrow, and that'll be that. It's getting loaded on a truck and it's going bye-bye, and that'll be the end of that. So it's going down tomorrow, therefore I just don't have the time. The wheat is turning in North Carolina. The temperature for the next 2 weeks will be in the 90s for 2 weeks. In the 90s. So I should have just went and said, the hell with these people. I drive like fucking piss ants. Anyway, yeah, so in the 90s, that'll turn that stuff into crispy critters down there, and we should be good to go. I'll be happy to get it done, which is great. Yay. But it just left no time for me to get this corn planted. The corn planter, I've got the parts to fix the corn planter. I don't have the time to fix the corn planter. Cody could fix the corn planter and plant the corn, but the tractors that I need to spread the compost are going to be in North Carolina. The big one is leaving on tomorrow, and that is today according to whatever, but anyway, it's leaving tomorrow. So I can't put anything else on that thing because I don't feel safe with it on any other tractor other than the 8530 because it's just so heavy. So what I'm gonna do is that compost is going to get spread on my hay crop after I take it off. The hay crop, or the killed ground, the ground that I've killed to plant the corn, is going to go back into grass. Tomorrow I'm going to purchase enough seed of Kentucky 31 to plant that 65 acres of ground that I killed, and that'll be that. I'll just plant it back into hay, and we've got enough moisture to get it up and going and get a good root on it and get it moving. I'm not going to kill it again because I have foxtail coming up, and the foxtail will shade it enough that, oh, come on, people. No, I got things on, but anyway, the foxtail will shade it enough if it does dry out and give it enough of enough protection that I won't have to really worry too much about that Kentucky 31 getting a hold and going. So what I'll do is I'll have Cody cut it when it gets about 1.5 feet tall, and that'll free up the sunlight to the Kentucky 31, and hopefully by the time I get back from North Carolina, I'll be able to spread that fertilizer on, or that compost on the whole farm and everything in the surrounding areas where I need it to go to get that second cut off of there. And that'll be good. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going home because I haven't eaten all day, and I'm hungry, and I'm tired, and I'm grumpy, and I want to do this. So that's the crop update for today. Bye-bye.